How's it going, everyone? I thought I'd do something a little bit different today, bring back the podcast style of episodes I used to do. Been slacking recently, that's just my fault. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about my favorite movie theater experiences of all time. I've had several. Probably I could name probably 20 at this point that are really memorable. I thought I'd actually film this a little bit differently with a different angle, like slightly downward. I don't know. I felt like doing something different, but I just thought I'd continue the series because I haven't done a podcast in a while. The last one I did, uh, I can't. Maybe it was on Universal, like the Jurassic Park area. Maybe that was too long ago. I don't remember, but it's one of those. Anyway, I have several that I loved. I've always loved the movie theater. Like I've been to several. I can't remember the first movie I saw in theaters. That was that's too long ago. I can't do that. But what I can do is let you know my top five ish. I'll probably just name a lot because there's a lot. Um, I think I guess we start with I guess I'll start with the first Marvel movie I saw in theaters. Maybe why not? Was Iron Man 2. I remember that was in 2010. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was. I guess. Uh, I start with Marvel because I think the majority of movies I've seen in the theater have been Marvel films. I've seen uh 20 it's over 20. It's definitely over 20. Um I don't think I saw Iron Man 1 in the theaters. If I did, it was real I don't remember. Cuz it's a dark film, but a great movie. Obviously started the whole thing, but the first MCU film I saw in theaters was Iron Man 2, and I like it. It's definitely not as good as the first. It's a little bit of a step down, but anyway, good experience. That was the first MCU film I saw in theaters. The first Marvel movie I saw in theaters was Spider-Man 2. I'm 90% because I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember being obsessed with that first movie and especially the second one, like all three of them. I definitely saw Spider-Man 3 in 2007. That was when that came out, and I was just all in for that whole trilogy. I still am. Some of my favorite Spider-Man movies, they are my favorite. Um, but I didn't see the first Spider-Man in theaters. That was way too long ago. I would have been too young. That was 2002. So, yeah, I was pretty young. I didn't see that one back then. I might have just seen Spider-Man 3 because I remember that being a big deal for everyone back then, and I was old enough to want to go to the movies at that point, and that was a great experience. It's a it's kind of a mess plot-wise, but it's really cool. It has so much action. The acting is great. The story is pretty dark, but it wraps everything up. And if you don't know, there was supposed to be a Spider-Man 4. I think it was like supposed to be coming out in 2009, 10 or something like that. But Sam Raimi, he just fought with Sony and it was a whole bad thing that happened. Like it was just bad press, bad interviews, bad behind the scenes drama. So, yeah, I did see Spider-Man 3 in theaters. I thought it was great. I still love it. I would love to see it again, obviously, because I love it now. I'm one of the few that loves Spider-Man 3. I know it's definitely the weakest of the three. Like plot wise, there's so much crap in Spider-Man 3. It's too much. It's too much plot. But it's really epic. I think it's the most epic of the three. And I think it's aged the best of the three. I think Spider-Man 2, the first one has aged the worst because it has the early 2000s CG, which doesn't hold up the best, but we'll move on. But I'd say actually I'd go my favorite Marvel movie I've ever seen in theaters. This is my number one. I'll just go backwards, I guess. Is the Avengers, the first one, the 2012 Avengers. There's just a magic of that movie. I've seen it like 30 times. I of course own it. And I remember it being such a big deal, and it was because at the time the Marvel movies were just getting started. Obviously, you had Iron Man 2008, fantastic. And then you go to The Incredible Hulk, which is definitely it's definitely not it's not amazing, but it's fine. It's good. Everyone forgets about it. The newest Captain America movie, the new what's it called? Brave New World. That is supposed to be it's more like a sequel to that than it is to the Captain America previous movies, which is kind of odd, but whatever. Actually, you know what? I should probably, before I talk about the Avengers more, I want to actually tell you about. I probably should have done this earlier. I've seen a lot of movies recently. I usually go out once every week, every 2 weeks, something like that, every 3 weeks, something, whenever something piques my interest. For example, very recently, I watched the original Shrek from 2001 in the theater, and they were doing a re-release. It was like I think it's like a spring kind of re-release thing that they do. They do like a throwback cinema where they show old movies, which is something that I wish would happen more often. We need more older films coming back, not new stuff, but new stuff is great. I'm just, I guess I'm nostalgic, whatever. I'm a pretty nostalgic person, I guess. It's just how I don't know. I just get a lot of joy from reliving memories, I guess. Uh, Regardless, yeah, Shrek, great movie. It's very funny. It's probably the funniest of the four. Shrek Forever After is not my favorite. That's my least favorite. It's fine. Shrek 2 is the peak for me. I always loved it. It's better than the first. It's funnier. It's sillier, but it's got a lot more um mature humor, I guess, and it's better for me. Shrek 2, it's always been the best to me. Shrek 3, the third, is definitely like Spider-Man 3, where there's too much going on, but it wraps everything up. It's a great movie, I think. It's underrated, it's overhated. It's got like some great princess stuff. It's got Prince Charming as the villain. It's got some good music, cool play plot, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. I love to talk about the Shrek movies, for sure, because I love all of them. Even the fourth, it's definitely the lamest one. It's got some good stuff. But anyway, first Shrek, very funny. It's very kind of timeless with the way it looks. It's aged pretty well. And I think it's definitely a great parody of fairy tales. So I saw that recently in the theaters. That was really cool. It actually flew by. It's not too long of a film, but definitely one of the more iconic DreamWorks movie. Probably is the most iconic one at this point. Anyway, so Shrek. I saw two movies that probably I wouldn't have seen. Like, if I were to pick a movie to see, probably normally I wouldn't pick these. But because January and February were so slow, like there was nothing major coming out except for Captain America, of course. But everything else was just kind of meh. So I saw Flight Risk, which was this kind of bizarre, like, it's almost like a thriller on a plane. You've got this agent, and she's trying to catch this bomber, and she catches him. They go up in the air, and they're trying to flee. I think it's Canada. I don't remember. It may be Alaska, something like that. They're trying to get to the mainland, and they hire this pilot, and this pilot is played by Mark Wahlberg, and he's so goofy but kind of serious. It's hard to explain, but it's actually pretty good. I think it was supposed to be a streaming movie, but it just put it in theaters. It feels like a Netflix movie in kind of the worst way, kind of, whatever. Decent film. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was just a fun ride, like a good time. I'd catch it if you want something, you know, pretty not generic, but just kind of simple plot wise. Like it's just them on a plane for like 90% of it, and then the final act is them getting off the plane. So it's pretty intense. It's got some good moments. Good. It's very beautifully shot, and most of the effects are practical, which is pretty nice. And good cast. Topher Grace is in that as well, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, good film. I wouldn't say it was my favorite I'd seen, but it was good. I enjoyed it. And then the second one was Heart Eyes, which is like a Valentine's Day thriller. This one was way better, I think, than Flight Risk, uh, because it was like a horror dramedy, like comedy. It's definitely a comedy, but it has a lot of violence, which is kind of, it's like screamy, kind of like it's got this satire feel to it. Like it's making fun of all these horror tropes. That's pretty cool. I love the killer. Like the design of the killer is really cool. And that it's got like hard eyes, literally, and it's he's got like laser vision or like night vision goggles, and he's got a really cool trench coat with some really cool like knives and guns and stuff. Really cool, and the kills are brutal. Like definitely, it's R rated. It is very bloody, which didn't mind. I thought it was kind of funny that on Valentine's Day there was this super violent thriller that just came out. It was similar. If you've seen Thanksgiving, which came out I think 2 years ago at this point, which I forgot the director, but Thanksgiving, the horror film with the Carver, um, that killer, that was great also. So if you've seen Thanksgiving and you want something similar, Hard Ice is pretty much it's like very similar. So that was really great. I had a good time. Olivia Holt was in it. Mason Gooding from Scream 5 and 6 was in it. So that was great to see him and her. I hadn't seen her in a long time. But yeah, that was great. Very cool. I definitely recommend. And then just some other ones that I've seen very recently, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which was amazing. I still need to talk about that. Um, I think Jim Carrey carried that. Like he carried all of them, but this especially because he's playing two villains, and like everyone did a great job. And probably the best action wise of the three, and it's definitely the most emotional of the three. Sonic 2 is just really ridiculous, and then Sonic 1 is pretty solid. Um, but then yeah, trying to think of some other ones. I guess Wicked, but that was in November. I'm just trying to think of some that I've seen very recently. I guess that I'm having trouble remembering, but I just see so much stuff that it all kind of sometimes blends together. But maybe in the next stream I'll be more up to date. I probably should write all these things down that I've seen. But whatever, Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's like that was in the summer. So anyway, whatever. So just some examples that I've seen very recently. Just I don't know, the year hasn't started, it hasn't really kicked off very, like this year is probably not going to be as strong as last year was, just in terms of new stuff. Although there is something that I'm going to be definitely going to, or I'm trying to go to, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, big movie. Probably one of the best Star Wars movies that has ever been made, in my opinion, and I've always loved it. It's very emotional. It's very dark. It is very effects heavy. It's got an amazing cast. It is very powerfully acted. I think that's the way I could describe it. Obviously, I've seen it a million times. I saw it in the theaters, and it was great, but I don't really remember that much of that experience. But the big deal is that it's coming back this year for its 20th anniversary, so that's insane. Came out in 2005, so that was 20 years ago, somewhere around there, pretty much. And I'm going to be going to that. I'm going to try to go to that. I think they're only showing it one day. I think it's April 25th, maybe another day. I'm not sure. That's a big movie. That's a big Star Wars movie. That's like everyone loves it. Pretty much everyone does. And I could talk about that movie for hours. I remember being obsessed with it when it first came out for a lot of reasons, which is kind of insane because it's not a kids movie. It is insanely depressing. The first half is pretty exciting. It's really exciting, a movie overall, but it goes really dark about halfway through, and the ending is extremely depressing. But I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies, definitely in my top five. Not my favorite, but it's in there anyway. I'm rambling. I'd love to talk about the Star Wars movies, of course. at some point. I have in the past, maybe. I might have gotten rid of those. Anyway, yeah, there's something that I've been keeping track of because Star Wars movies don't get re-released very often. I think I either missed Attack of the Clones re-releasing or it's coming up. Some maybe, I don't know. Attack of the Clones is old now, which is so sad. Um, I love Attack of the Clones. I can defend it forever. But anyway, I know you don't care about that, but I had to say something about that. And one more thing that's coming out, I keep forgetting, is Tron Ares. The marketing has been, I guess they don't, they're making it still, I guess, which is fair. But the Tron movies they don't market very well, or at least the marketing team is kind of bad. Because Tron Legacy came out like 2010, and I remember, well, obviously I didn't watch it back then, but I remember the marketing. I guess the marketing wasn't very good for that either. I guess the Tron franchise is pretty underrated. It's very there's a very specific fan base. I'm a part of that. I love the first Tron movie, and the second one is even better. And I'm hoping this one will be even better than Legacy, but we'll have to wait and see. I just think it's interesting that a Tron movie's finally coming out and they're not advertising it. They're not telling people about it. Like Disney is really bad at that. I feel like the marketing has been pretty terrible for I don't know. Um, but yeah, I just thought it's not even a part of this, but why not mention that? Just some things on the horizon. But yeah, a lot of my favorite movie experiences. I guess I'll start with the Avengers. We'll go back to that. Kind of go backwards, I guess. That was in 2012. So, Incredible Hulk was in 2008. Yeah, came out the same year as Iron Man. So those two movies came out the same year. Those kind of started the MCU, and then we got Captain America: The First Avenger. Yeah, that was in 2011. That was right before this. I'm trying to think. There was at least 3 or 4 movies. Oh yeah, Thor was in 2011 as well. And then Iron Man 2 came out in 2013. No, I'm sorry, 2010. Okay, hold on. Iron Man, 2008. Incredible Hulk, 2008. Iron Man 2 was with 2010. Thor, 2011. Captain America, the First Avenger, the first movie of that, 2011. Okay, those are the first 5 Marvel MCU films. Okay, trying to remember. It's been a while. There are so many. I've seen almost all of them in the theater, which I'm very proud of. Uh, anyway, so those 5 movies. So great movies. I think the weakest is probably Thor. I think because it's, I think it's a little too Shakespearean. There's a lot going on. Chris Hemsworth was just starting out. Natalie Portman was in it, just starting out. Anthony Hopkins was brilliant as Odin. Obviously Loki, Tom Hiddleston, breakout star. Um, I just think Thor is a little bit. Actually, I think Hulk is the weakest. Edward Norton did a great job, but his version, I think his Hulk was too savage. It was too. It didn't really feel like an MCU movie. It just felt like a Hulk movie. It didn't really feel like part of the world of the universe. Like it just felt like out of place, I guess. But Edward Norton did a great job. Liv Tyler did great too. William Hurt as well. So it was just. It's like it's just it's just kind of generic of a movie if you think about it. But the final fight with the Hulk and the Abomination was amazing. That definitely carried it. I didn't see Hulk in theaters. It just wasn't one that I was interested in. Iron Man was way cooler, in my opinion. Still is. But anyway, I did see Thor, and I think I saw Thor in the theaters. I believe so. Good movie, good action, good look. It's a very epic movie. It's got a very play-like feel to it, like a drama. It's very good. It's just not one of the best, I feel like. Decent movie, Thor. And then Captain America First Avenger is probably the most different of all of these. It's like 1950s. It's like going back to the World War. You got Tommy Lee Jones as a colonel. It's got a great cast. I think Stanley Tucci's in this. Um, and Haley Atwell, Chris Evans, obviously, Sebastian Stan. A lot of great actors in this. Obviously, Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull, awesome. Unfortunately, he was never brought back. Like Hugo never came back. Red Skull came back, but Hugo Weaving didn't. But he was freaking amazing. Um, I like the aesthetic of this Cap film. It's very pulpy. It's like very silly kind of. It has this old timey feel, which is great. And the other Cap films are very different, which is really cool. But anyway, first Avenger, I did. I think I saw it in theaters. I liked it, but the big one was the Avengers. It was everything. Like it came at a perfect time. Everyone, it's almost like the Star Wars of Marvel films where it was so hyped. Everyone was so excited. Massive crossover. Everyone was excited for this. It was amazing. The marketing was insane. You had Avengers logos everywhere. The music was incredible. The trailers were great. Um, and it came out, blew everyone away. I mean, it's almost the perfect Marvel movie to me. It's got this perfect formula. Like everyone is introduced. You have more development for Hawkeye, who had a small cameo in Thor, and you got Black Widow coming back from Iron Man 2. You got Nick Fury leading the team, got Stark, of course, um, and then you have Cap, of course, being brought back, and a new character, Agent Coulson, who was kind of in the background of all these movies. He kind of brought the team together, and I guess spoilers for the Avengers, where he dies and they avenge him at the very end. They all come together. Like it just had the perfect amount of action. The look was there. All the costumes were updated. You have just a lot of great character moments and development. Like, and it looked amazing, especially for the time. Like the CG and all the different new plots, and they're all kind of connecting from these past five movies, and it's so perfectly done. Like the script is so well written for every character. Joss Whedon, I believe he wrote this. I know he directed this one, but he did such a freaking great job, like balancing all of these characters. Like even some of the like sort of newer characters, like Loki was somewhat newer at the time. Great villain, and like everyone felt the same as they did in their movies, and Thor got a little bit more to do, and like it was so magical. Just it was so electric. I remember in the theater being there, and it was completely packed full of Marvel fans, and it was just a joy to be in that moment with everyone just experiencing it. It was so amazing. So that was my favorite. That's my favorite movie theater experience ever. It probably will stay that way unless something amazing comes, like something mind-blowingly cool comes out. But I was actually a fan of the Avengers before the movie. I've been a fan of them for a while as a kid. I remember reading some of the comics and playing some of the games or whatever. But just that, it was like this come together moment where all these fans came together. Like it was just so well written, so well acted, so well shot, and I think it's aged very well. The CG is pretty fantastic, in my opinion. It's still amazing. Obviously, if you're scrutinizing, you could find flaws, but anyway, great final battle. Probably the most action. It probably has some of the best and most. Probably has some of the best action scenes. It also has some of the most action scenes in a Marvel movie, I think. There's at least 6 or 7 action sequences that are just so freaking cool, and they still are. Um, and the team came together at the end. Everyone got their moments. Even Hawkeye got a cool moment or two, and the post-credit scenes were great. And the music, again, the music is just phenomenal. Alan Silvestri, the guy was brilliant. Okay, he still is. And yeah, the Avengers. I could like one of my favorite movies ever. Like period. Like if I'm gonna watch one of my movies, The Avengers is in that stack. It's in there. Just it just means a lot to me. Like I don't know the point at the time where everyone came together. It was just so iconic. Like there's so many amazing iconic like lines and like scenes and like poses and just I can't. Avengers is amazing. It still is. Um, every time I watch it, I just love it more. So Avengers 2012. I mean, I love all of the Avengers movies, but the f- the first one just hit different for all of us, and it is nostalgic, of course. But I just think it's a really well done film. Like, just it's really well made. Like, you could tell a lot of the a lot of the people behind the scenes, they cared about it, and it shows, and it's beautiful. It's just great. So I could talk about the Avengers like on its own stream, like own video, but anyway, probably will because I love it that much. But that's my favorite movie experience of all so far, at least. Um, my second favorite is probably going to be a little bit hard. There's so many. Let's probably stray away from Marvel. Let's maybe go. You know what? Let's go to Star Wars. Why why not? My second favorite movie experience of all time is probably the. I'm tied between Attack of the Clones or I know I saw Attack of the Clones in theaters. It was so long ago though. I can't remember it like I remember these other ones. That's the that's the only reason, okay? So I love Attack of the Clones, but it's not I can't say it's my second favorite just because it's so long ago, but anyway. My favorite Star Wars movie that I've seen in theaters is The Force Awakens, which because it's recent, I guess. 2015, 2016, 2015, December. It was around Christmas. And this was similar to Avengers, where the hype was insane for this. Because there hadn't been a Star Wars movie, I believe, since Revenge of the Sith? But Revenge of the Sith was 2005. But no, the Clone Wars movie. Clone Wars 2008? Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to mention really quick. I've seen 7 or 8 of the Star Wars movies in theaters, maybe 9. There's a lot of Star Wars movies, but I've seen a lot of them in theaters. Um, Episode 1, I didn't because I was born that year, 1999. Um, and obviously the originals, I did not. But anyway, I did see the Clone Wars movie in theaters. Yes, there was the Clone Star Wars: The Clone Wars the movie, which it wasn't called that, but it was in theaters for a very. I think it was a limited time, or it was just in 2008. I remember going with my dad, and it was really cool. I was really into the Clone Wars back then. I still like it. Obviously, I like it a lot. But that was a big deal, and I remember the theaters. The speakers were maybe there was like malfunctioning or something. It was like I don't know. Maybe it was just the sound. But I remember the speakers kind of either cutting out or just the sound was really overpowering. I don't know. Regardless, yeah, the Clone Wars movie is pretty decent. It's not the best, but it was really cool to see it in theaters for sure. It was a really cool experience. Anyway, Force Awakens. This is the big Star Wars movie that brings everyone together. This is like the Avengers Endgame of Star Wars at the time. Um, it was a new bad guy, Kylo Ren, with this weird sword lightsaber, and then you have this young girl, Rey, Daisy Ridley. You don't know who she is. Han Solo's back. You've got a few of the old players back: Chewie, Leia, maybe Luke. We don't know. So at the time, it was really big. J.J. Abrams was directing it, and Disney. I think this was Disney's first Star Wars movie that they did. Yeah, I remember it was. It's fantastic. I love the film, even though I don't love the other two in the trilogy. I think it's the best sequel, um, like that they've done, and I just think it's really gorgeously shot and it's really cool. I'm a big fan of Force Awakens. I saw it in theaters. I saw all 3 of the sequels in theaters, but The Force Awakens was just a magical ride. As soon as I saw the opening, like long time ago, Galaxy Far Far Away, that was it. I knew I would probably never get a cool experience like that again. And even though it's probably not one of the best Star Wars movies to many people, I think it's one of the best shot. It's really amazing to look at, and obviously it's really well acted. Definitely in my top 5 of Star Wars movies. It kind of shifts a little bit here and there, but my list is pretty consistent. Um, but it's in there. So it I think part of that is the experience of it in the theater, and also just because I think the story is really great because we have all these new characters. They're kind of meshing with the old. They're all trying to find Luke, who obviously is missing in the film, and he doesn't appear until the very end. Obviously, spoilers, I guess, for Force Awakens. Um, and a lot of big stuff happens. You've got Leia and Han reuniting. You've got the Starkiller base, blowing up the the New Republic, and you've got like Kylo Ren massacring people left and right, and you got Rey and his connection, and the I think one of the most iconic scenes. The trailer was amazing. The trailer is one of the best trailers for Star Wars media, in my opinion, because it just hits. I don't know, it's something about it. But I think the best moment of that movie, I think, in the theater was when Ray and Finn, after they just met, they get pursued by First Order ties, and they're getting shot at, and Ray says that there's a ship nearby, and she goes to the tarp. They both run with BB-8, and they're running to the tarp, and it's the Falcon, the Millennium Falcon. After all these years, and they start it up, and it's epic freaking um desert battle where the Falcon jumps up. It had this awesome action scene. I think it was filmed in IMAX because it felt like it when in the theater, but it was just so crisp, like the sound design and like the way it was shot. It's a really cool action scene where the ties are chasing the Falcon. It's one of the most epic scenes is when the Falcon goes upside down in the sky, and it's so awesome. It's so cool. Um, and Star Wars was back at that moment. I think definitely it's held up really well. A lot of great actors in this: Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, obviously Adam Driver, and so many great actors. And they all played their parts really well. Like the story is really cool. You've got lots of new characters like General Hux and like Snoke and Kylo Ren, Captain Phasma. You've got all these different villains, and then you've got obviously the old favorites R2 and 3PO, Chewie, Han, Leia. And they're all kind of interacting with these new faces like Finn and Ray and BB-8 and Poe, and you got some new pilots in there too. It's so good. Maz Kanata as well. I think I have almost no problems with the movie. I think it runs really well. I think it's filmed really well. I think it's acted really amazingly. The script is great. The characters are great. The way it's shot, like the effects are amazing, and the sound design is incredible. The music, phenomenal. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Force Awakens. I love it a lot. I've seen it quite a bit. Obviously, I own it as well. But it was just a really magical time. Like, imagine Empire Strikes Back, but for the new gen. So, I guess Revenge of the Sith for. I guess it would be the Revenge of the Sith of the Star Wars movies, I guess, for me. I don't know. But yeah, Force Awakens is like the new gen Empire, new gen Revenge of the Sith. It's like for many people, it was where Star Wars was back. Finally, it was epic again. It was amazing. It was lightning. It was magical, and I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies, full stop, that they've done. And I'll stand by that. I don't love the next two, but you know what? They got one out of three right, so that's fair. There's a lot of questions too. Part of me wishes that they didn't do any other sequels. They just if they only did Force Awakens, that'd be fine. I'd be fine with that because there's a lot of questions. You can answer them yourself or not, and it's up to you to decide. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I think Force Awakens is epic. I love it so much, and part of the reason is the theater experience. It was amazing. Yeah, great. That's my second. Sorry, I'm taking so long with these, but I have a lot to say on these movies. They'll probably get their own videos probably in the future. But anyway, Avengers number one. 2012 Avengers. I have to specify because there's 4 Avengers movies, and then Force Awakens, Star Wars Episode 7. If you're keeping track. Number 3, we're gonna go to another. I almost, I basically spoiled it. Transformers. That's my number 3. If you're wondering which Transformers, there's been 7 of them. Of course, the original animated movie from 1984. That's a great movie. Did I see it in the theater? Nope, because I wasn't even born. So that doesn't count. I love the film. It's ridiculous. It's like bizarre. Like a lot of it's it's really it's something. Yeah, that's a different film. But there's been 6 live action Transformers movies. There's the 2007 one, which we will talk about. That's the one I'm talking about. We'll talk about that in a minute. Revenge of the Fallen, which is from 2009. There's Dark of the Moon, which was 2011. Age of Extinction with Mark Wahlberg. That's where we lost Shia. That was in 2014, I believe. Because I did see it in theaters. I've seen most of the Transformers in theaters, except for the animated one. The original. Anyway, I'm a fan of so much stuff. It's like a laundry list of franchises. Anyway, the next one was Transformers The Last Night. And that was in 2018? 2017. I think, yes. And Bumblebee, which was 2018? 2019? It's one of those. And obviously Transformers Rise of the Beasts, that was in 2023. So yeah, and then now there's there's Transformers. What's the new one? The new one that just came out. I can't remember the name of it. It's animated. What? I can't remember the name of it. Transformers 1. That was in 2024. 3. Anyway, the timelines is kind of ridiculous, but you get my point. There's a lot of Transformers movies. There's a lot of Transformers stuff, like media out there. I'm a big fan of it. I used to be a big fan of the toys. I mean, I still am. I don't collect them anymore because I collect so much stuff that it's kind of hard to keep track. Anyway, I used to have a lot of the Transformers live action figures, like the toys that they came out with. Those were so good. I could actually do videos on those probably. That'd be kind of fun. Just like talking about them like digitally be kind of cool. But anyway, Transformers 1. Well, not 1. It's there's so many. Transformers 2007. The first live action movie directed by Michael Bay. It is a Michael Bay movie. It's got explosions, got people sweating, lots of action, lots of testosterone, tons of action, lots of cringy lines. I mean, that's just part of it, right? So, this is also in my favorite movies, like just in general. Half of it's nostalgia, half of it's because I genuinely love it. Like I think it's really probably the most, aside from Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, I think it's the most well done of the Transformers like live action movies because it has the least amount of sexual jokes. It's the least stupid of them. It's the one that's the most serious, but it has a great amount of comedy. Like it's I don't know, it has this balance of good stuff to it. Um and it's got a lot of great actors, tons of great actors in this first one. John Voight, you've got John Turturro, um, like obviously Shia, Megan Fox, Peter Cullen back as Optimus. So there is a lot to love. You've got the army guys in there as well. Um, there's a lot of stuff that I like about this movie. I'm just gonna keep it short. I did see it in the theater. This was in 2007. So this was a big deal. This was the first time that Transformers was like a real uh how do you explain it? So Transformers before then had been just cartoon. It was just animated. But at this time, this was the first live action film that they did, and it was a big deal. It's still kind of a big deal because they used a lot of special effects that at the time were big. So I how do I explain this? So a lot of the robots in this movie, first one specifically, are all CG, but they are ridiculously lifelike to the point where you can't really tell if it's real or not. That's the point. I think that's the point of a good movie is if you can tell, if you can't tell whether something's real or fake. I think that's a point where you could respect it. I think more. And ILM did the effects, I believe, for this first movie. This was directed by Michael Bay. Steven Spielberg had a lot to do with the production side, which is another big deal. When he signs his name onto something, it's pretty much guaranteed to be either a big success or recognized, I guess. So he had his mark on it. There was a lot of military input as well. A lot of the Decepticons take military forms. So, for example, Bone Crusher, one of the most epic of these Decepticons, sadly, he doesn't last long in this film because Optimus takes him out like a boss. Um, the amazing highway battle, that, yeah, freaking awesome. But he's an example where his alt mode is an army tank. Not really a tank. It's like an army truck with a big fork on it. And that was a real vehicle. All the Decepticons are real military vehicles. Like, for example, Brawl is a tank. He's a real tank that they loaned and built. Or I guess maybe they built several. I know they loaned some vehicles. Another example is Blackout's helicopter, and that's a real helicopter that they used. So just some examples. Pretty much all the Transformers vehicle modes are real. So, for example, Optimus Prime was custom built as a Peterbilt truck. Bumblebee's Camaro form, real car. Jazz was a real Pontiac. Not Pontiac. Was he a Pontiac Solstice? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, just some examples. So all the alternate modes were real, but then the robots themselves were CG. And at the time, it was one of the most expensive movies because of the technology used to make the Autobots and the Decepticons at the time. Honestly, some of the most impressive CGI that I've ever seen in any movie ever. It is so beautifully, like, they're all beautifully rendered. Like, there's just so much love put into these characters. And you can tell because Michael Bay had a great time redesigning Optimus Prime, Starscream, Brawl, Bumblebee, Megatron, pretty much all the favorites, Jazz as well. Bone Crusher, a new one for this one. And it was just really cool to see the passion. There's actually some really cool featurettes on the DVD and the Blu-ray where it shows just how much effort went into this first movie, which is just really cool. I love the behind the scenes of it, and I saw it in theaters. I remember specifically going with some good friends of ours, and the theater I think was packed. It was it was very busy. It was very full. It was Avengers level. This was something that didn't Transformers movies didn't come out very much. I think the last time we got one was in 1984 with that original animated one. So again, it was a big deal, and it still is. It's one of the more expensive movies that they've done, and it's a longer movie, but I was all in. I remember after that, I was all in on Transformers. I had a huge phase, actually several phases of Transformers. Um, but yeah, it was so epic. I remember the crowd just losing their minds and just being in this moment again. It was one of those experiences where I will never forget how awesome it was. Just to be in there with all those fans, all those people. The sound was insanely amazing, and just the action was great. Another action movie, pretty much. It takes a little bit to get going, but there are at least 4 or 5 action moments that are just jaw-droppingly like wow, it's so epic. This is an epic movie to me. I've seen it many times. It's in my top 10. Just in general, like if I'm gonna pick a favorite movie, Transformers and is in there, first one. Just because of the attachment, I have a lot of memories with this one. Me and my dad went to or saw it recently, and we loved it all over again. It's just one of those that holds up. It's pretty timeless. You could argue that the script has a little bit of cringy lines, and it was kind of early to mid 2000s, so cut some slack. Okay, that was just how it was back then. But amazing movie, great soundtrack. Just it just hit. I'm not as huge of a fan of the Transformers animated stuff. I have seen a few of the series, but not like all of them. But mostly the movies. I'm mostly a movie fan of Transformers, and this first movie kind of helped me get into that. So yeah, I have a lot of bias, I guess, towards that one. It just hit. Great story. I mean, people crap on Shia LaBeouf, bro. Come on, he was kind of in his element here. Okay, he's pretty iconic to this franchise, whether you like it or not. Big part of it, and I think he did a great job. Um, Michael Bay did a great job directing it. The second two kind of go off the rails, especially the second one. It's very overly kind of sexual with the dialogue, and it's kind of overly explosiony and cringy. A lot of the cringier scenes come in the second one, but the first one, I think it's the perfect balance of humor, action, and heart. There's a lot of heart in the first one because of Shia's character Sam and Michaela, obviously Megan Fox's character. I think they were just a great pair. I think, um, and something I think you should really do is if you love the Transformers live action movies, I think you should go to Universal because they have the Transformers ride, which is freaking brilliant. That being said, you have to be a fan of 3D and also a fan of motion control, like motion based rides. If you're not a fan of either, then don't. But you know, just something I recommend you do if you're a fan of the movies. It's in the same universe as this first movie, pretty much. I mean, the first three, I guess. So yeah, it's in the same continuity. So if you like this first Transformers movie, maybe give that ride a shot. It's really awesome. I wrote it. I've wrote it probably 10 times. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, yeah, Transformers, 2007, number three. Apologize if I'm taking too long, but I don't know. I have a lot to say on this stuff. I haven't done a movie thing in a while, so I don't know. Figured why not? My number four. I'm probably gonna go Disney with this one. Um, I'm tied between two. I have two very specific favorite Disney like animated movies that come to my mind, jump to the front. Like I have a lot of favorites, obviously. I'm a big Disney fan, but two very specific ones jump to mind in terms of theater experience and just love overall. First one's Big Hero 6. I think I'm going to save that for a different time. But the second one's Tangled, which came out in 2010, which is a while back, which is kind of sad. Anyway, yeah, Tangled, you all know it. You either love it, you hate it. Some people hate it, but most people love it. This was a big deal for Disney at the time. This was their biggest, most expensive movie at the time. I think it was over $300 million, maybe more than that, 350 million. It's in one of the most It's one of the most expensive movies that they've ever done, along with Pirates of the Caribbean. I think three, four, and five, I believe, because those pirates movies, man, they're pricey to make because they're mostly real. Anyway, yeah, they're practically shot pretty much for the most part. Um, I would love to say Pirates, any of the Pirates movies. It's just been a little while since I've seen them. I guess I'll throw an honorable mention for Pirates 4 on Stranger Tides. I did see that in theaters. I've seen most of them in theaters. Actually, maybe all of them I've seen in theaters, except for the first one. Because that was like 2003. That was a while back again. So I could have seen it in theaters, probably did. I just don't remember much about it. But anyway, yeah, Tangled, big deal. this was their first, I believe this was their first 3D film because they hadn't done one before this. The last one that they did was Princess and the Frog at this point, which was in 2009. Yeah. So that was 2D, though. It had 3D elements, but it was 2D. So Tangled was the big one. They were betting a lot on it. A lot of directors were coming and going, and obviously Byron Howard and Nathan Greno directed it. Two directors. I think when Disney has two directors for a film, it pretty much turns out well. Um, Not that one director is bad, but anyway, yeah, Tangled, big deal. This was obviously the Rapunzel story, but it's told differently. It's a different version. It's pretty much original. It's got some stuff from the a story, like obviously Gothel being a witch, and obviously Rapunzel herself, and there's a thief that goes in the tower. Everything else is pretty much new to this. Like it's original because more creative. Um, but yeah, big deal. Great experience. I remember very well. Again, the theater super packed, and it was a big deal, big Disney release. It is one of their most beloved movies for a lot of reasons. I think the story is honestly beautiful. Like it's really well written. Everyone's like the actors are amazing. It's kind of a repeat of what I said about the other ones. Script well written, great CGI, amazing action, amazing music, really great heart. It's got a really cool look to it where it's almost vintagey. It's got this retro feel to it, which I think helps it age pretty well. And again, a lot of great actors. Mandy Moore, obviously, you've got Donna Murphy, uh, and Zachary Levi, of course. And like everything just hit at the right time for me and for everyone, I think, in that theater. Because when we left, we were like, what is this new technology? Like, what did we just watch? Did we just, like, is this a classic? It's a classic, I think. You can call Tangled a classic now. Because there's nothing to, like, bad about it for me. Like everything just it hits it just gets better, I think, every rewatch. It's almost this less classical fairy tale approach, which I think helps. um and it's beautiful to look at. It's gorgeously shot. Like just everything was so good. And I have to admit this, I think my first movie crush was Elizabeth Swann, Keira Knightley, probably. But my second was Rapunzel, Mandy Moore's version, the one from Tangled, the first movie. Because there's a series which I think is great, but I don't think it's near. I think it's a great series. It takes a little bit to get used to the style of it because it's not 3D. But specifically Rapunzel from this movie, I remember being obsessed with her, like just the look of her and like her voice, and she's still one of my favorite characters. Just I, she's just endearing. I think that's the word. Endearing, likable, naive, charming, maybe. I love her. I think she's just really, really great. Just a great character. Like very outspoken, very like outgoing. Um, and she's kind of bubbly. Like she doesn't really know what she's doing, but it's kind of I don't know. It just helps. I think. And she can stand up when she needs to, obviously. And I think she's one of the best Disney characters, like not just princesses. I think she's one of the best written and performed characters, and just the way she looks has aged very well. Um, Again, the look is really cool for this movie. I think it was a great choice for them to go kind of this vintage style of fairy tale. It has this really cool look to it. I think it's one of the more unique Disney movies that they've done, just look wise, I think. And again, it's expensive, and you can see it. You can see how much money went into this, just how amazing it was. And it is, I think. And If I'm gonna pick favorite Disney movie experiences, Tangled's at the top for a lot of reasons. I just think it hit at the right point. I was kind of the perfect age to fall in love with I guess the characters. I guess like she's one of my favorites still. Um, I think just because of how richly detailed everything was and how detailed Rapunzel was as a character. She's kind of insane how much detail they put into her. But anyway, everyone else is great too. The Stabbingtons, McGothel, obviously. Flynn is great. Um, all the thugs, Maximus, Pascal, everyone's great. But I think for me, Rapunzel stands out just because of how well designed she was and also how well acted she was. Anyway, yeah, just a little tangent, I guess. I have a few favorite, I guess, a few movie crushes. One that I guess I could mention would be Violet Baudelaire from Unfortunate Events, the movie, not the show, the movie from 2004. I just think Emily Browning was very obviously attractive to me at the time, but I think she was really smart and very well spoken, very well acted, and I think she was portrayed beautifully. I think she's aged very well, and I think she had a great presence in the film. I will talk about Unfortunate Events at a different time because I did not see that in theaters. I obviously would have loved to, but I wasn't really into that one at the time. But yeah, that's just another one of my movie crushes, I guess, that I could name off the top of my head that I had at the time. Um, I guess another one. Maybe we'll go back to Star Wars. We'll do one more movie crush. Padme Amidala. I guess in Attack of the Clones, she's called Padme Naberrie. She's kind of weird. I guess that's her real name. Anyway, Natalie Portman. In that movie, I believe she was 19 or 20? Because Attack of the Clones was 2002. So she would have been pretty young. Um, and I think for many girls, Hayden Christensen, Anakin, was the highlight for that film. But I think for many guys, Padme was the best part of that movie. um, and I think I agree. Yeah, she was another movie crush for me back then. Um, just she was very strong-willed, very obviously attractive, but I think she had a great presence as well, and she had a great opinion on things, and yeah, great look, great outfits, great lines, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't want any Attack of the Clones hate. We're not having that here, okay? It's enough. Enough of that. Let's actually have some positive thoughts on it. But anyway, that's just a movie crush I had back then. But yeah, Tangled, fantastic. I love it. Probably even more now, just because there's a lot of stuff that I like more about it now than I did back then. But that's my fourth favorite movie experience that I've ever had. Probably will not be topped. Probably will not. In terms of Disney movies, I have not seen one so far that's topped it. Is close, but I've seen those so long ago that it's a little bit hard to remember exactly. But anyway, that's the fourth. Tangled, number four. Number five, last one. This one's gonna be kind of hard for me to remember, I guess. There's just so many that I've seen that I've loved. We've done Star Wars, we've done Marvel, we've done Disney, we've done Transformers. Um, Unfortunately, none of the Harry Potters I saw in theaters. I don't believe. I don't think so. If I did, I would have saw Deathly Hollows Part 1 and 2. Maybe I did. I don't remember. My favorite Harry Potter movie is 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, but I didn't see that in theaters. That would have been 2004. I definitely didn't. It was just long. It was just, I was too young, I think. And that movie's dark. But anyway, um, you know what? You know what? I think I'll go Indiana Jones because I love him as a character, and also I just love his franchise. That's just one of my favorite movies, like series ever. If you know me personally, you know that. But um, Indiana Jones, I've seen I've seen 4 and 5 in the theaters. Obviously not Raiders, not Temple, not Crusade. Because those just came out. I wasn't even born. It's like 80s, obviously. So those don't count. But at the time, so this is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm gonna pick that one. That's 2008. And at the time, I remember liking it. When I left, over time, I hated it because there was a lot of alien stuff and it was a little bit different from the way it was shot. Because in 2008, a lot of movies were coming out that used digital effects. So, another example, Iron Man, 2008, first one, used a lot of CG, but it was well done. It was well crafted. Like, it was well made. You could tell. And it's aged freaking well. I mean, some of the final battle shots look kind of, a little bit shoddy, but it's just how it was. At this point, movies were becoming more digital, like in terms of how they were shot and also how many effects were in the films. Avatar came out the next year. It had a lot of effects in it, but anyway, um, that's just an example, I guess. But Indiana Jones 4, it was a big deal because the Indiana Jones franchise had ended in 1989 with Last Crusade. So that was the last one, right? Spielberg, Lucas, they're like, we're done. We've done three. Let's move on. Okay? Indy's gone. Sunsetted him. Okay? Gone. We're done. But over the years, Harrison was kind of getting interested in doing another one, and also Spielberg was like, we could update. We could do another one with updated tech, and um, he finally relented, and in like I think 2006, 2005, he's like, you know what? I'm doing Star Wars. Might as well bring back Indiana Jones as well. So, they were working on that 2006, 2007, and it finally came out. I think it was May. I remember May in 2008 because the trailer was so in your face. The marketing was great for Crystal Skull. The trailers were amazing. They're great trailers. And it was a big deal because Harrison Ford was older. Obviously, he was in his late 50s. And it was a little bit of a different vibe. It's in the 50s now, which means it's maybe 40s, 30s or 40s, 50s, in that decade. I believe it's the 50s. Could be wrong. But this is a different kind of movie to the other ones. It's a little bit different because of the way it was shot. It was shot on digital. So not, I think it was shot, I'm trying to think. Maybe it was shot on film, but it just looks like it was shot digitally. A lot of computer effects are in this, which at the time pissed people off because Indiana Jones is very practical with the effects, which means they're real. A lot of the effects that were done in those movies are real, which is great. That's part of the reason why I love them so much, is because they're actually performed on camera. A lot of the action is real, which is what I love with movies. That's another reason why I love the Avengers, is because all the action is pretty much there for the most part. Anyway, so Indiana Jones comes out. People hate it. It's not. It's different. We've got aliens. We've got Soviets, Russian bad guys. We've got all these different army men. We've got a great villain, Spalko, played by Kate Blanchett, who is looking for a crystal skull that was stolen from Akator, which is the city in the Amazon. And Indy, it just gets roped into it. He just wants to get. He gets roped into it because Marion ends up getting kidnapped, and then she sends a letter to Mutt, who's his son. He doesn't know it at the time, and Mutt ends up recruiting Indy. Indy gets dragged along. Oxley gets dragged along. All these characters get dragged along for it, and he ends up getting entangled with these Soviets who want this crystal skull, and they want to harness its power for the war. And it's just really, at the time, the more I watched it, the more I hated it. I saw it in theaters. It was a great experience. Packed house, tons of indie fans. This was the first indie movie that I saw in theaters. I would love to see the other ones, obviously, in the theaters because they're some of my favorite movies in general. But, they don't come around too often. So if an opportunity comes, well, I'll take it. But anyway, yeah, Crystal Skull comes out and it's pretty well received at the time, but over time it gets hated by many people because it's very CG heavy. You got Shia LaBeouf kind of overacting as Mutt. Harrison is obviously praised. He's great in this movie. I think he is really well um, acted in this particular film. I definitely prefer Crystal Skull over Dial of Destiny. I think I watched both of them. I think Dial of Destiny is too cartoony. I think it's too. It's definitely too much computer. It's too many computer effects. I think it's, and I think Harrison was way too old at the time. I think they should have shot Dial of Destiny earlier than they did. I don't know. He was great in Force Awakens, by the way. But yeah, he was great in this movie. I love the action. The action's amazing. I think the highlight is the motorcycle chase through the campus. Oh, it's so good. It's all and it's real. It's like all practically. It's like I think Spielberg shot it. I think that was the first thing that they shot for Crystal Skull, which is really cool. There's a lot of great action. There's a great Area 51 rare warehouse battle. You've got the jungle chase, which lasts for like 20 minutes, and then you've got the I think that's oh no, you got the more jungle. There's a lot of jungle fights, but there's a lot of cool stuff in this. The jet ski, jet sled uh, launch that was cool. Obviously, the end battle, and then end reveal. And it was really cool. It was cool to see Indy back all these years later. It was great to see Marion back. Karen Allen returned. I think she was the only other member, returning cast member. I think so, because Sean Connery unfortunately passed away. I believe at that point, or maybe that year. I don't remember, but he passed away, and then Sala wasn't brought back, unfortunately. But yeah, pretty much it was. Honestly, it's a great movie now. I hated it at the time. I hated it for a long time because it was so different. It's so I think there's just too much effects. I think maybe that's the problem people had with it. And the alien stuff was really people did not like that because aliens is kind of it's a kind of a too much disbelief. Oh yeah, there's also the cemetery battle. That was something I forgot to mention. That's a great scene. What they put in the trailers. But anyway, yeah, Crystal Skull. I think it's just differently. How do I explain this? It's shot differently. I think, and it's definitely it feels a little bit like the Star Wars prequels, where the computer effects kind of overtake it a little bit at times. Which I don't mind it now. I've grown to love it over time. Just I don't know because I think films now are kind of worse than they were at most points. I don't know. I just felt like there was more passion put into Crystal Skull than there was Dial of Destiny. Just my opinion. I mean, I like Dial of Destiny. It's just my least favorite. It just I don't know. I think Crystal Skull has some of the it has more of the magic. It has the feel. It has the adventure feel, the thrill of it. I think still is in there. Even if it's not perfect, I think it's great. The experience in the theater though was fantastic. I remember it very well. Not as well as the other ones, but I remember being super excited and just I loved it at the time. It was cool to be with all those fans, of course. Um, it's a decently long movie, but it's got some great stuff. I like the villain. I think she's great. I think the dynamic between Indy and Mutt is really cool. The whole mystery of where the crystal skull is really takes you around different places like Peru and Akator and um, I think it's just really well done. Is it the best Indiana Jones movie? No, but I think it's one of the best. And that experience was great. I had a great time. Um, and I think I will cherish that forever. That's one of the ones that I think of when I think of great movie experiences. I don't remember everything about it, obviously, because it was quite a bit ago. But I I would say that's my number five. Crystal Skull. I know it gets some hate, but look back on it. Maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe not. But just look back at what it did right, and maybe you'll forgive it. I think it's gotten better over time. Um, could the CG be cut down a little bit? Yeah, but just what happened at the time. I just think it's great. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I think Harrison Ford's best performance. I think my favorite performance of his. I think his best performance is in Crystal Skull, because he is so much older. Because he has so much more experience, and I think it's. I think it's his best performed uh, version of Indy. I think. Just I guess my preference, but yeah. Um, I think that's it. I guess that's it. I apologize for talking so much. I just I had to say something on this. It just popped into my head to do this stream. I guess this video. I guess you could say it's a video. Um, top five. Yeah, we'll go back. Crystal Skull number five. Tangled number four. Transformers number three. 2007. Um, Force Awakens number two. Avengers number one. 2012. I have to say it because again, there's four. Um, as for other honorable mentions, I guess I could mention a few more of them. Spider-Man: No Way Home. That was an event. You talk about an event movie, that is in there. Spider No Way Home, amazing. Went to the theater, completely full, and it was just fantastic. Just living, everything was great in that night. So that was great experience. Let's see. Honestly, Big Hero 6. Yeah, when I saw that, incredible. Love the movie. It is a Disney Marvel film. It is technically a Marvel Disney movie. It's based on the Marvel comic. So yeah, it's a Marvel Disney joint. So that's cool. Great experience. Another one. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Uh, I've seen so many at this point. Pirates 4 and 5, obviously. I think some other ones. I haven't seen many re-released yet. Oh, Sorcerer's Stone. That was awesome to see in the theaters. Because that came out in 2001. That obviously, I was way too young to see that in theaters. But great to see it on the big screen. I love Harry Potter. Every film, every book. I'm kind of nervous for the show, but you know what? We'll see what happens. We'll see how that turns out. Um, Other ones, the Sonic movies, honestly, pretty fun experiences, especially Sonic 3. I think Sonic 3, because I saw it with a bunch of friends, and it was so much fun. That movie's really enjoyable. Like, all of them are, but I think that one especially is great. Um, I could say one of my worst experiences, which was Justice League. Oh my, it was so bad. Actually, no. The one that's worse than that is Batman v Superman. That was terrible. I liked it in the moment, but the more I thought about it, the more it got worse. It's just bad. I want my money back for that. I could actually do some worse experiences. Madam Web is up there. Although it was fun to watch, but it was bad to sit through, if that makes any sense. I guess Hunger Games, Catching Fire, that's the best one. That would be another one that I really liked seeing. I saw Percy Jackson 1 and 2. I liked them in the theaters. Over time, they've gotten worse. Um, that might be it. I mean, there's so many. Have I seen any of the X-Men movies? I've seen a few in the theaters, actually. I've only seen like one or two. It's kind of sad. but there's not much else, I guess. Um, Spider-Man 3, again, I don't remember too much about it, but I did see it in theaters. It was really cool. Uh, I've just seen so many movies at this point, it's kind of all blend together, which is not great, but also I probably should write down the ones I've actually seen in theaters. Probably would have been smarter to do, but whatever. Rogue One was great. Rogue One was awesome in theaters. Solo was cool. Rise of Skywalker was a really cool family experience. Oh, Top Gun Maverick. That was epic. That was epic to see in theaters. Um, Oppenheimer was really cool. Seeing Barbie was wild. Like just going like how different they are. It's just funny. So yeah, that's another one. Pretty much every Marvel movie I've seen. Um, so I mean that's pretty much it. If I get the chance to see Revenge of the Sith, I will let you know how that is. Hopefully there's a crowd. I'm hoping there is, because it'd just be amazing to have this giant crowd of Star Wars fans. If it's advertised well, then hopefully, I mean, everyone knows it's coming back. So that's going to be cool. It's going to be amazing to see again. Hopefully, if I can do that. But I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else much to say. Um, yeah, just I thought I'd share this because why not? I just thought about doing it, and I thought, let's just film it. Let's just talk for a bit. I didn't mean for this to go on for so long, but I just have so much to say about these that it just kind of blends together into this ramble. But yeah, um, hopefully you related to one of these. I know some of these movies are getting older now, but let me know what like. What are your favorite movie experiences? Have you had some bad ones? I've had some bad ones. I could probably count them on my hand. Not very many, but that's good. It's not too many bad ones. Um, oh, I guess I could mention one more honorable mention. Smile 2. I've yet to talk about it, which is really sad because I adored it. I think it's way better than Smile 1. It's just up the ante. I think the Parker Finn realized, you know what? I think people want bigger, so he went bigger, bloodier, better. I think, and I saw that in theaters. It was awesome. It it was really cool. I saw it twice. I don't see movies twice very much. That's one that I had to see again. Just I don't know because I loved it. That was like my favorite, pretty much probably my third favorite movie of last year was Smile 2. Um, but yeah, that's one that I had to mention because it was great. Uh, I think the sound design really helped for that one. And I guess I could mention one more. I'll end soon, I promise. Scream. Actually, they re-released it a few years back. I think it might have been 2022, 2023, and it's the original Scream from '96, and that was really awesome to see in the theaters because Scream is like, for me, it's like the most consistently good horror series. Like everyone is good, even Scream 3, which is kind of trash, but it's really fun to watch. It's really entertaining, so it becomes good. So yeah, even though Ghostface is pretty terrible in that one, still, it's good. It's not bad. I just think it's the worst of them. Like it's just the weakest. But um, I'd love to see Scream 2 in the theaters. That'd be amazing. 'Cause I love Scream 2. I think in many ways it's better. Um, but yeah, I saw Scream re-released a few years ago. That was awesome. Around October, I believe it was. That was really cool. So that was really, really, really nice to see in theaters. Um, Otherwise, yeah, not much else to say. Um, Again, I apologize for this going on for so long, but I'll probably end it here. Let me know what you think. Have you had any terrible experience? Have you had any great, like, life-changing movie theater experiences? Like these for me have been like perfect movie outings. Like life changing. Like these are ones that jump to mind immediately when I think of the theaters or just movie loving in general. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you have any Star Wars ones? Do you have any Star Trek? Do you have any Marvel? Any animations? I know I didn't put any animated ones on here. I probably should have. I guess a couple ones that come to mind is Rango and Megamind. Those are like two of my favorites. Like just animated stuff in general. But yeah, that's about it. I don't want this to go on forever. But yeah, let me know what you think. The next podcast episode is probably it's probably going to be something with CDs, or it's going to be a Universal Park area again. Another discussion on that, probably. Either that, or it might be a shorter one where I rant about moviegoers. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think. And if you relate to any of these, if you were there for the any of these five, let me know. Let me know what you think. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can just really just listen to this. You don't need to watch it. Um, but I thought I should be on camera for this. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.